job 3 here. Job 3, you're going to be changing some more colors just to get you super familiar with this concept. And here we're dealing with Minnie. So what we need to do here is we need to change really 3 things: her shoes, the dots that are in her bow, and the dress and bow colors themselves. So let's start off with the dress and bow. So I'm going to use my magic wand. I'll click on this, and you notice this is a little bit trickier for sure. It's a little bit tougher because this picture is not super high quality. So because of that, it makes it a little bit more difficult for this to read exactly what's going on here. So let me show you how to clean that up. So let's change this color to a blue. That's nice. And we'll dump some paint on and we'll see how this looks. Ugh, not so great, right? So let's worry about just cleaning this up first, and then we'll move on to the other stuff. So I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to go to select none so I can see exactly how bad this is, and it is indeed pretty bad. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. And now what we want to do is probably want to start painting. So if I just, and you see here, I'm going to zoom out for a second. View, zoom out. Here's my paintbrush, and here is the circle of my paintbrush. So if I click here, it just starts painting everywhere. Not so good. So I'm going to undo all of that ugly stuff there. I definitely want to change the size of my paintbrush just so I can hit these individual pixels. So again, I went to paintbrush. The size is right down here for you. So I'm going to change it maybe to like 13. It's still a little too big. Let's see. Can I get down to 1? Maybe a little too small. Let's try 5. Yeah, that's probably good to start. So now if I start clicking on these things, good, but it kind of comes out like a little bit of a spray paint. So why don't we change that up? Let's change it the hardness. And when we change the hardness, we're able to really affect that spray paint look and make it more of a solid look. So you see kind of what happens there. The middle of it is much more pronounced. Okay. An easier way, though, perhaps of doing that is using the different shapes on the side here. So we kind of have the spray paint brush picked. Maybe it's easier to just pick that altogether. Okay. So we said the size was best at probably 5, so I'm going to go there. And that looks a whole lot better. So let's click on this, and we can just start clicking and holding and literally going through and painting all of this wonderful stuff. So we're hitting all of these red pixels as much as we can. And sometimes you might have to find, well, this is a little bit tough corner. I'm going to drop it down to 2, and I can go around it like that. Now, your best friend here is definitely going to be the undo button. So going up to edit and undoing your paintbrush or undoing any mistakes you might have. Let's say you slip, oh, not so good. I can go up to edit, undo my paintbrush, and that thing will come right out. Now, I'm going to zoom out just to show you how that cleaner appearance kind of looks. Sorry, let's go zoom, and we'll go to 1:1. So you can even see here, as I zoom in a little more, this looks very, very clean. This does not, so it definitely does need to be cleaned up. I always recommend getting as close as you possibly can to see the individual pixels. You'll find that that really helps you do a good job of cleaning it up. Now, a big part of photo editing is this stuff. In fact, you need to be patient to be a good photo editor, and this is half the battle right here. Taking your time and really cleaning up the pictures as best as you can. Okay, so take your time with this because it does take some time. So that's how you're going to do the bows. Once you have that done, now we can go ahead and we can go and change the color of the dots. So let's take the magic wand. We'll click on this, and that does a pretty good job of getting the pixels we need. We might have to go in and change it. So I'm going to just click on a couple of them here, and good idea to hold down that shift or control key to just add the pieces that this doesn't pick up. So you notice if I click on this, well, it's missing these things in here, so I'm just going to click on that to clean it up. Okay, good stuff. So we'll start with those, and let's dump some color on them. I'm going to change those to a green just for effect. Dump it on, dump it on, dump it on. And you don't need to worry about accidentally clicking outside, because if you click outside of an area that is selected, it's not going to work at all. So you can go ahead and click like crazy because the only thing that's going to be impacted are the regions you have selected. So if you haven't selected it, It's not going to get colored. Do not worry. Okay? So you're going to click all those things, clean it up. Perfect. Looks good. Another way of doing that that might even be faster for you, let me show you this. So if I have my magic wand here, and I want to do this, do that, do that. Okay, and let's zoom in one more time. All right, so on this guy here, if I use my paintbrush, well, it still takes a little bit of time because I got to do it a bunch of times. Or if I use my bucket tool, it still takes a bunch of times. I got to click on a lot of the individual things. So I'm going to undo all that stuff. And an easier way to maybe do that, remember, I can only paint what's in here. If I grab my paintbrush and I just start painting, remember, it only paints what is selected. So since I have selected something, that's all the computer's going to paint. So it's a lot quicker to do it that way. Now, if I go to select and I select none, now my paintbrush is going to be able to paint anything. But as soon as you have selected something, the computer's thinking, okay, that's all this person wants to paint, don't let them paint anything else. So those are some good quick tricks and tips in order to help you out with that. Okay? Now, just to review, let's take a look at doing these polka dots here. So what are we going to do to fix this up? Well, first thing I like to do is get the magic wand and see how it's doing. Not so great, so I'm going to hold shift, maybe add some stuff to it as much as I can without really impacting the rest. Now, it's always easier to do this before you start, so always try to add to your selection as much as possible before you dump your paint on, and see, that looks pretty good in my eyes. We've done a pretty good job of that. So that's where we are now. So let me dump some paint on that, and I think what color we're using up there, blue, okay. So we'll use blue, and we'll dump our paint on, and it looks pretty good, but this isn't so smooth. There's a lot of weird pixels in here. So remember, we have all this selected. Let's see if there's a better way to do it. So I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and I'll just make the size a little bigger so my size is gigantic. And look at that. It's painting only inside the areas we have selected. Now I don't have to go through and do all of that extra work that I probably don't want to do. So that looks a whole lot smoother. Now, of course, we can go by and we can clean up the edges if we wanted to, but we can worry about that later. Okay? Looks good. So I'm going to deselect everything. Select none. All right. And now we'll worry about the magic wand on this side. So we'll add to it. Excellent, excellent. So we're just adding shift or control, whatever kind of computer you are currently using. And we're there. Perfect. So let's go ahead and, like I said, we can always dump some paint on, but sometimes that doesn't come out clean. It works really well if your image is not that pixelated. Unfortunately, here we have a very poor quality image. So instead of using the bucket tool, it might be easier to just use our paintbrush and paint just inside those. See how much quicker that comes out? It's perfect. And that's what you're going to want to do for this job. This job is going to take you some time. Be patient with it. That's job 3. Make sure you save as an XCF and then export as a PNG to finish off.